be agreed to, and I call the honourable member for Goldstein.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, my remarks reflecting on this tragedy will be brief, only because reflections on our friendship of nearly 20 years to the late Senator Kimberley Kitching are always poor cousins to those with family or partisan relationships. The many times we spent abroad could draw comment, but Instagram captures, the sharing of pomegranate juice, visiting refugee camps to ensure children are getting an education, or the find of a ceramic bowl from Jerusalem's Armenian quarter better than I could articulate. As a friend for so long, it has remained an oddity that some of our least time that Kimberley and I spent together has actually been when we've been in this place merely separated by corridors and a reflective pool. Like many who serve in the federal parliament, we park our relationships for our work, and it's also a reminder to all of us that sometimes we need to pause and remember that there may not be a tomorrow. I won't remark on the many allegations of the behaviour of others preceding her passing, beyond to observe that sadly many of them rung true from our conversations. Kimberley was an extraordinary person and somebody who I had an enormous privilege to know for a very long period of time. There were many times where her bright eyes and intoxicating conversation could constitute its own champagne, exactly as was remarked by previous members, only to be followed as her eyes narrowed with a sudden directness in her lips and questions that demanded a sober and substantive response. That was the wonderful yin and yang of Kimberley's personality. She had depth of her substance, coupled with the breakthrough effervescence of her laughter. It was balanced with the beaming glamour that she always brought to the room, with the piercing directness of her blue eyes that could bring you to heel. The truth is, I never wanted to be her enemy, and thankfully never was. But to those who always stood by her and were her friend, she gave the most incredible loyalty, and I respect that immensely. In his eulogy, the member for Maribyrnong ensured Labor lay claim to Kimberley's legacy, lest some on the left perhaps may not choose to do so. And there are some on both sides that probably feel sometimes that Kimberley could have found her home in our party room. Just for clarity, I don't agree with that, even though she once handed out a how to vote card that argued in favour of voting for myself. With reluctance, I do disagree with the proposition that she was anything other than Labor. She stood out because she was the best of Labor. As her husband Andrew said in his eulogy, she exemplified the courage and creativity that we all say we want from candidates for public office. But on all sides, we too often shun both, favouring useful idiots, obedient nudniks and bland time servers. But I would add that Kimberley's courage and conviction didn't exist, except for the fact that she had core belief. And this, of course, is the Kimberley that I knew in all her complexity. It's standard in the Venn diagram of the political landscape that the overlap is the centre between ideological extremes, whereas Kimberley was at the centre of a different plane, where the overlap was those who understood public service meant putting Australia first. It's fitting that the Prime Minister announced the first Magnitsky sanctions to the House in tribute to her legacy as a reflection of her contribution to these important laws. But it's also a reminder that her legacy lives and will continue to endure. So to her parents, Leigh and Bill, and her devoted husband, Andrew, and loyal dog, Nancy Jane, who will wait by the door for many days yet, our hearts and our love goes to you. When a house loses a parliamentarian, we salve the loss through soothing speeches. When a party loses a warrior, the torch of liberty or the light on the hill can perhaps flicker a little less bright. But when a nation loses a rare patriot, the loss is to our collective moral courage. And that is the loss we share with Kimberley's passing. May she rest in peace.